Good afternoon. It's getting late in the day. Thanks for everybody to come to the Extending Horizon headers for easy monitoring and fault detection. My name is Ian Jolliffe. I've been working with OpenStack since 2013. I work also on OPNFV and the new Starling X project as well. And this is Tyler.
Hi, yes, I'm Tyler Smith. I've been working with OpenStack since 2014 with a primary focus on the user interface and Horizon components. We'll also be working on the Starling X project.
Yeah, so if you were at the keynote yesterday, we announced along with Intel that we're contributing the seed code for the Starling X project. It's coming out of the Titanium Cloud family of products. What we're going to be talking about today is already upstream in Queens, and we're going to go through exactly the problem that we're looking to solve. Starling X and Titanium Cloud have all been directly focused on edge applications, very small footprint, but also making it easy to manage and operate an OpenStack cloud. And we were looking at the Vitrage project and other projects that how do we actually manage and monitor this very complex infrastructure? And Tyler and the team came up with some cool ways to do that. So we're happy to share that with everybody today. First, a little bit about Wind River. We actually have our software running on many embedded devices, over 2 billion. Wind River has mainly been known over the years for RTOS VxWorks systems, but we also have Linux and Titanium Cloud, which is a OpenStack-based cloud solution. Not only do we have 2 billion devices on the planet, but our software is actually running on the Mars rover, so it's kind of cool to be able to say your software actually runs off the planet. But I guess Elon Musk is trying to get there as well. So what is Titanium Cloud? So we really see the promise of software-defined infrastructure, critical infrastructure at the edge of the network really being transformational. This is the use case we've been focused on from day one. Very small clouds, no installer nodes, single node solutions, duplex solutions, so hyper-converged, but also what I call rack scale solutions as well. We're very active in OPNFV, been a very big participant in the OPNFV plug fests. And the use cases that we get the most excited about are networking at the edge, so vRAN applications, distributed applications, but we're also doing a lot of work in the industrial market with things like imaging, leveraging GPUs for diagnostics, smart building, robotics applications, virtualized PLCs, and other control applications. So we're really happy to be sharing the work that we've done with the extensible header here today. And I'm going to turn it over to Tyler to walk you through the details and share a little bit of the journey that we've been on and some of the things that we're thinking about for the future.
All right. Thanks, Ian. So here's a look at what we'll be talking about today. I'll be giving you a brief overview of Vitrage from a high-level view. I'll also be going over the problem statement that we noticed, the gap in functionality that we saw when using Vitrage with Horizon. Then I'll be going over our solution to that functionality. Then I'll be discussing some implementation details about how we tackled that problem. And lastly, I'll be addressing some community opportunities and how we can make use of this new feature going forward. All right, so Vitrage is an OpenStack project that provides root cause analysis service. It also features alarms, which are probably the main component of it. We consider them vital in determining the health of a running OpenStack deployment. It also features a Horizon plugin component, which gives a graphical view of these alarms, as well as a system topology and multiple views of the resources running in your system. It's also very robust and pluggable. You can see here a high-level view of Vitrage. On the left there, you can see the data sources that provide information into Vitrage. These are configurable and could include such sources as collectd, SNMP, or any OpenStack services such as Nova. At the top, you can see the various interfaces into Vitrage, including the Vitrage CLI, as well as the Vitrage Dashboard, which is a Horizon plugin. Those communicate with Vitrage through the Vitrage API. And on the right, you can see where Vitrage can export data through the notifier, either through SNMP or HTTP to configurable external systems. So now I'll just give you a quick overview of what Vitrage Dashboard looks like when it's deployed in Horizon, and then sort of show you what the feature gap that we noticed while using this system. All right. So as you can see, when it's deployed, there's that Vitrage panel group. So here's a look at the topology page. It just shows you a view of all the resources running your system, and you can drill down. Right here, it's a very simple simple deployment. It's just a single host, so there isn't too much to look at. Next, you can see the alarms panel. That'll give you a detailed view of all the alarms that are present in your system. Sorry for the flashing. That's a little weird. All right. All right, well, anyways. Here you can see the entity graph that shows all the resources that are tracked by Vitrage and their relations to one another. And again, that's a pretty simple deployment here, but all right, so let's say the user is going about using Horizon. He could be launching instances or just viewing details of various resources. And in the back end, let's say a link goes down or a host crashes, something like that. The back end will provide alarms to represent that. But as the user is going about using Horizon, he has no way of knowing that that has occurred in the back end. Unless he happens to, let's say, go to the instances page and sees that an instance has failed, or if he just goes back to the Vitrage alarms page and can see the alarms present there. So now you'll navigate back to Vitrage, and suddenly the user can see, okay, well, here's an alarm, a critical alarm, and just found out about it now. Of course, this could be remedied if there's an external monitoring system using SNMP or something of that sort, but it doesn't really help the Horizon user as he's using Horizon to observe that. Another possible scenario where this could happen is, let's say the user launches an instance that'll push the resource utilization on a host past a warning threshold, and then the instance could still be running fine, but it's still a warning that the user should really be made aware of. So we came up with a solution to this problem. We decided to introduce a header section into Horizon to display critical information that we think would be pertinent to the user. We wanted this header section to be visible on any page so that the user can be made aware of it ASAP. Also would need to be context sensitive to the user, such as his role, permissions. Like an admin user would want to see different information than a tenant, let's say. Would also need to be customizable in that we want to allow projects to choose what they want displayed and how they want to display it to the user. It also needs to be flexible so that multiple projects could make use of this space at the same time. We don't want projects fighting for, the best spot. It also needs to be interactive in that we can let the user decide what they want displayed more prominently. And most importantly, I think it needs to be a simple solution. There's a pluggable settings file functionality already present in Horizon, and we want to make use of that to deploy and customize this header section functionality. So now I'll give you a look at our solution for this. You can see at the top there, there's the new header section deployed. So with Vitrage, we decided to display the alarm counts that are present in the system. And you can also see the drop down on the right there. So I've created an extra dummy plugin. It just shows the count of the instances running on Nova. That's just to represent how this system can work with multiple different projects at the same time. All right, so now let's say the user is going about using the system again. And we'll see that this header section gets rendered on every page that the user navigates to. So now if he goes and just goes about his business, launches some instances, views some resources, and again, we'll run into the same scenario. A host gets brought down or a link fails, something like that, something causing Vitrage to create a new alarm. You'll see the account gets updated there, and the user's attention is drawn towards it. And we also added some click redirections, so if the user wants to drill down on that alarm and see, what's happened in the system, he can just click on there and be brought to the alarms analysis page. Then he can really use Vitrage, what it's intended for, and do some root cause analysis. All right. Also, we added some functionality, so let's say the user doesn't really care about alarms. He probably should care about alarms, but he's more interested in something else. He can just swap it out with a different header section, and that's remembered in a cookie, so that's stored for that user. All right. So now I'll be getting into the Horizon implementation details. So we accomplished this by adding some JavaScript to run on the client side, which will send out an AJAX request after the page loads to retrieve that header section HTML. The benefits of it being an AJAX call, it's asynchronous, so there's no impact to load times. We thought that was important. So there is a bit of delay from seeing the header section after the page loads, but we thought that was more important so that get the user what he wants to see ASAP, no extra delay there. We chose to implement this feature in Django just because it allows for easier customization, configuration. And also it'll be simpler for projects to contribute to this feature if they haven't implemented AngularJS already. They can just do what they know. So that AJAX request gets routed to a master view in Horizon, which will go through and render all the configured header views and combine them into some HTML to return to the client. So here's an overview of the flow of control in Horizon. You'll see that AJAX call goes into the master view, and it'll loop through those configured subviews. They'll make their own API request to the backend services for those projects, and it will render the responses through respective templates to display appropriately in that header section. All right, so as part of implementing this in Horizon, we also implemented it in Vitrage. We thought that was a great starting point because it's such blatantly important information for the user to see. As such, we chose to display those counts of alarms. And it's also dashboard sensitive, so if the user is on the admin dashboard and he uses that banner to redirect to the alarms page, he'll be redirected to the admin alarms page, and vice versa for projects. We also introduced a new API in Vitrage to serve just the alarm counts. We could have just retrieved a whole list of alarms and looped through and counted them, but we thought it was more efficient to just do it in Vitrage and return the counts. So as such, we added an accompanying CLI, and you can see an example of that there, just doing Vitrage alarm count. So going over some of the changes that are required to Vitrage, here's an example of Horizon's plugin file setting from Vitrage. The first two lines there are already existing. That last entry is ours. So that's the add header section variable. And that points to an array of strings that point to any configured extensible header section views. So those will get picked up by the Horizon settings and loop through on runtime. So here's a quick look at that view. At the bottom there, you can see where it determines whether it's an administrative dashboard or not. And it'll use that when it calls the alarm counts API in order to get the correct view of the alarms in the system. And that's fed into that template name there, which you can see here. So this is just to format the data. You can see down at the bottom where it does the color coding to draw the user's attention. And at the top is where we do that click redirection. All right, so as part of this feature to Horizon, we also it presents some opportunities for other projects in OpenStack. You can see how we implemented it for Vitrage. So if other projects have important information they want to display to the end users, they can do so by following these steps. You'll need to create the APIs that are required in the back end. Maybe everything's already there and you don't need anything else. Varies. You also need to create that Horizon view in the project's user interface component to query and format that data via a template. And then you'll need to update the pluggable settings file to point to that new view that was configured. So some potential additions for this could be maybe displaying quotas for a tenant user or displaying the resource utilization for an administrative user. So the way we implemented this in Horizon has the benefit of not requiring the projects to modify Horizon in order to introduce a new header section. So they can just keep the changes contained to their own project and should ease the code review process and everything. All right, so just to summarize what we talked about here, we identified an opportunity for improving Vitrage and they're working with Horizon. Then we showed you how we created that required functionality in Horizon. And we showed how it was implemented, how we implemented its usage in Vitrage. And then let you know how other projects could make use of this new functionality that's present in Horizon. So we committed this in Queens. It's all usable there. And once you deploy it, it'll just show up there and should be good to go. So we welcome others to start contributing to this new feature.
Thanks, Tyler. I really like the approach that allows cross-project collaboration and not having to go in and hack Horizon to add something that you want to see. You've really enabled a nice way to make it pluggable, extensible, and very nice approach and good collaboration with the Vitrage team and others and the Horizon team to make this happen. So thanks a lot.
For sure. Thanks.
Any questions, folks?
Yep.
So we aren't currently using Vitrage, but with our own monitoring tools, we have an issue where we have a very large deployment, and there's a lot of alerts for some minor, some major going on at all times. We have an entire team dedicated to worrying about that.
Mm-hmm.
Is there any consideration for dealing with the issue of kind of a long-standing critical thing that's light up red and not seeing it go from 1 to 2, or seeing new things come in?
Sure. So that could probably be.
So I guess we'll just repeat the crux of your question for the audio recording. I think what you're saying is you've got a large-scale deployment, and you want to be able to show some sort of alarm escalation over time and show counts incrementing. Is that correct?
Kind of, yeah. It's more just being able to make sure that you're cutting through the noise of long-standing
Right.
alarms, being aware of new things.
Okay, so duration of alarms and things like that. Okay.
Sure. So maybe if it's a long-standing alarm, it probably wouldn't be a critical alarm then, right? So maybe you could have 100 warnings persisting for a long time. So that would probably be one way to get around it. I'm not sure the specifics of your monitoring there, but it might have alarm suppression capabilities. Say you don't care about a particular type of alarm, sort of disregard that and only show me real alarms that are important to that user.
Yeah, that's a good point. One of the things that we've been talking about with the Vitrage community is actually enabling alarm suppression within Vitrage. So that is one good way of cutting through the noise as well.
Mm-hmm. All right. Yep.
So when you started showing this, the first thing that popped in my head was showing users their resource usage based on their quota per tenant. And before I say go back home and start playing around with this, do you have any plans to do this yourself? It seems like a very obvious
Yeah.
use case for it.
Yeah, that would definitely be a good use case. I don't really have any plans at the moment.
We're not currently planning to work on quotas, but happy to work with you on it and collaborate in some way for sure.
Yeah, that would definitely be a good addition.
I agree. It makes good sense for sure.
I don't want to go home and spend a month and say, here it is, and find out you guys have already.
No, we're not working on anything there.
On the plus side, it definitely wouldn't take a month. So maybe a couple days. Oh, well. All right. Any other questions?
Well, thanks everybody for joining us this afternoon, and enjoy the rest of the summit.